pretty sure Ho-Oh would taste yummy. Like, come on, he's already baking himself. He's on fire. You just cut him and eat him, and you're like, oh. Anyway. Oh, that's on video.
Yes.
Anyway.
Opening line.
That's funny. Okay. So we're right now currently discussing what would be the tastiest Pokemon to eat. Of course, Asians talking about this is the most appropriate thing. That's why we have a token white guy right here who's going to also fill in.
To neutralize the situation.
To make it not as bad as it seems.
So, what do you think about waylording?
It's too big, we can't catch it. No, never mind. We need to go for Welmer. Anyway,
What? Killer when it's young? I think that's even worse.
Ham and veal. It's all more
it's
tender.
funny, yeah, tender. It's like a veal. It's like you know, whatever other things that we eat as a kid. Oh, please don't. Anyway, yeah. So what would be good to eat?
Magikarp.
I really don't think so.
I think it tastes quite.
Don't
it's
really eat
It's like
carb.
eating a koi fish.
I think it would be a common mainstay, and that sure, Magikarp's plentiful, you can have a lot of it, but it's not a delicacy. It's
Yeah,
not like,
you can eat carb. Don't get me wrong. Like there are ways.
but you're not going to be
do,
excited about
like,
having Magikarp.
Yeah, I think it's more so got to do with, like, you know, what you
It's
were
good
mentioning
nutrition.
earlier with Taurus. I'm pretty sure Taurus would be nice. Imagine a pure Kanto breed Taurus, you know what I mean?
That would be equivalent of Kobe beef, but it's Kanto beef.
Milton would be better because
I think that, yeah.
No, we need a milk tank for our A2 milk.
Yes, I think the milk
If
is...
Miltank was a dairy cow, you
Oh,
would need some of
Yeah,
that.
exactly. That's the thing.
And
So,
it looks like it's a bred primarily for dairy.
Yeah.
Because a Taurus is going to have that beef on it.
what's something random? Like, I'm pretty sure Ho-Oh would taste yummy. Like, come on, he's already baking himself. He's on fire. you just cut him and eat him, and you're like, oh. See, Moltres is actually on fire, so I think it'd be a little bit overboard.
What about like something small, like you know, like guinea pigs, right? What if it's like a dedenne?
More pepper or Dedenne. We should have a platter of all the guinea pig-esque Pokemon, and just like be like, look at it sparking in my mouth. Yes, oh, it must be a Dedenne.
Oh, dedenne will have that little extra crispy.
Oh jeez, like a little bit of like a zap, like those spark candies. What are they? Popping candies?
Tails are ferrets. There's a lot of meat in the tails.
Oh.
But you know, it's not all just fur.
Yeah, no, you know what?
Yeah.
You know what? That actually would be really freaky. I mean,
What about stunkfish?
Stunfisk. It's not sunfish.
Oh,
Read it properly. She's looking it up and she still can't get it right.
It'll be
or
really
flathead,
good.
or whatever you call it.
Also, sunfisk is what is it? Flatfish? Huh?
No,
Yeah,
it's
I
a
think
flathead.
it's a I think it's a flathead, but it's more
It's
just
a flathead.
stonefish in that
Yeah,
it's got barbs.
Right, but then it became a mousetrap in Gala form.
Well,
It was always a trap. It was always meant to be you step on it, you die. Or like
Oh, right.
Thing.
But
Like
it went
stonefish.
from being a fish to a trap.
Well, like stonefish.
Is this mouth a Pokeball? Is that
It
the
looks
whole
like
idea?
it, like
Yes. Like
But
that's the
by the
whole
way,
idea, right?
doing
Yeah.
this, great for a curry or a salad, just dice it up lightly.
Yeah, it'll be.
Everyone should check out my video of when I got the shiny Galarian Sunfisk
Crawfish.
on Pokemon Sword and Shield. My first shiny ever.
Clawfish and Crawdon?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
man, Crawdon would be a delicacy.
Mmm. That's a lobster, right?
But it's a dark type, so you think it's a little bit bad for you, like.
Unless it's something like
Well, why would
fugu, where it's a little bit of
It's a
poison in it.
dark type. But that's a poison.
It's not
type.
a poison
That's
type.
the
It's
issue.
dark
It's
type.
not. It's not poisonous
But even
for
if
you.
it's like a poison type, it'll only be the organs that are poison, and usually you've got it, right?
Or you have a
There's
little
a
bit
sack.
of flavor.
Yeah.
There's a damn sack.
What about tentacle?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can have that as a.
Jellyfish.
Oh, tentacle. Yeah, jellyfish.
It's
Tentacle.
kind of
That
like
tastes
fur,
nice.
right?
Yeah, good argument. So you just need to make sure that any poisonous aspect or is
Yeah,
taken out.
it's nice.
Oddish.
Oh yeah.
That's
Or
a
just
bird.
use, like-
Well, the thing is, it's got the spores and the stick and that sort of thing. So you actually have a fairly unique flavor. You have.
But what would the meat be like? Is it more like a
I'm thinking more
vegetable?
plucking the leaves.
Huh?
Plucking the leaves.
No, that's just what.
The bulb.
Yeah, do you think?
Oh.
It's like
Well,
you
which
snip
part of
it
the
and
orange
then,
do you
and
want
then
to
you
have?
get a salad and some blueberries.
But I
You
think
get this
it's like, no,
gigantic.
but I think it's like a beetroot. You know how it has the leaves and stuff, the beetroot stuff is like.
Sure, it would probably
So you have
be
different
more.
parts of it.
That's actually gruesome to think about because beetroot is relatively red, and then you cut an oddish. It's bleeding in the middle. You're like,
Oh, but it's not blood. It's just beetroot.
yes, yes, that's
Oh,
what.
what?
So if you eat
beetroot
an oddish, you'd still be vegetarian, right? Because it's technically.
Well, no, that's the question.
Which is
It's like if you snip the hair of oddish, you would be a vegetarian if you eat the hair. But if you eat oddish itself, a
But-
Pokemon is a living thing.
Or no, a
Yeah,
plant
I guess
is a living thing.
grass type Pokemon.
Yeah,
but
Grass is a living
If there's a
thing.
Pokedex entry though.
man, I really
What does it say in the
want to
Pokédex
ask a
entry?
Really
No, if it has a Pokédex
enthusiastic
entry, is it
vegan slash vegetarian this question.
What about that mushroom
But-
Pokemon?
But okay,
Yeah.
let's take one more example. What about Bellsprout? It's literally
Literally just a plant, yeah.
a plant. What more is it?
I'll be eating the head as well, that little flower cup.
Yeah, but I
It's
think
a
it'll
flower.
Taste nice because I have a.
Forget about taste. We're talking about ethics now.
No.
Are we still on taste or we're talking about ethics?
We're all about the taste right now. So the question is, let's just say a weeping bell and a Bellsprout, which one would taste
Well,
better?
neither. They're both vegetables.
You think that will be too like sick?
And they're the same species. Why would that be huge? It
I
wouldn't
thought that
be
was a
huge.
Victory Bell. Victory Bell would be too
Well,
weirdly
I think-
acidic.
I think both of them because Weeping Bell is halfway there. Really.
But Weeping
Yes.
Bell is like facing down. You know how Victory Bell is facing up? It's got a little bit of a. You know, there's nothing coming out when it's going like
just
this way.
generating all this food the whole time.
Oh,
Which
maybe.
itself could be.
Yeah, but then a Bellsprout also has that
Yeah, but it's so small.
that
you
acid
can
thing
try
because it's poison
eating
type.
Yeah, sure.
like one of those bell, whatever in the rainforest, like the whatever it's based on.
Yeah, but it's
I
gonna,
think
it's
like
gonna
the
burn your
develops.
mouth because it actually has acid in it.
Yeah, but,
Ah,
if
but
you
isn't
just
it
like
isn't
what
the head
tastes
or
like.
is it like the leaves and the vines? Because is it the sap?
It's the acid that they actually have acid in there.
Yeah, sure.
So if you get a cross-sectional thing, there's actually some liquid in there, and that's what the.
Let's wash it out.
Yeah, you can wash it out though. Like,
Oh, I reckon accents.
Sorry. What the hell are you talking about?
Snake.
Oh, okay.
Hey, some Asian people eat snakes.
Yeah, I know. I just don't want to have that Asian stereotype on the viewers.
Yeah.
Okay, we are going dog. Raiko. So he's a little bit of a spark, but I think he'll definitely taste better than the other two dogs.
Vinny.
Suicune would be
I
slimy.
think
Suicune, I have a feeling
A bit too
is
soft.
either slimy
Entei?
Too
or
soft.
a little bit watery.
Entei, I think if you get like thin slices, if
Yeah,
you one
yeah,
of those,
look.
it's rare with an icy edge.
Well, see, Entei looks like he tastes nice, right? But he's fire, so he's probably gonna be a.
This is the weirdest Pokemon conversation I've ever been in.
dry.
Raiko tastes dry, but it's got a bit of a zap. You know, I also think
What
that
does
that
Raiko
zap.
look like even again?
So you want to pair it with
Oh
something,
no, I
right?
can't
Pair it with
remember.
a
I
bit.
remember.
You pair it with some sleep powder polish. Just try and yellow that out.
Just like a
So
little bit
you
water.
have a bit of a zap and a bit of a numbing as well.
Your drink is paralyzed heal. It's kind of like you just have a bit of Raiko meat and then you just drink some paralyzed heal. You're like, oh,
if you're
very
getting too
nice.
bad, right? What if like you drank like the water from a water gun from a Pokemon? Is it gonna taste like regular water, or is that gonna taste like
Saliva?
So, I would hope that it is
regular water?
regular water because how can you generate that much?
But the thing is, like,
The
could
way
be,
they store
exactly,
it.
they can't generate that much, right?
It's
so it
just
must
like
be some kind of different
I mean,
water.
35
can generate
pp.
water
35
right now.
pp. I swear to God. Okay, use that 35 times.
No.
35 times, just water gun
Yeah,
something.
but you see,
35. You'd be like,
It can't be regular water though, because how are they storing it in them? So it must be some kind of
sorry,
different water.
just an aside, just a random aside that is just completely unrelated. You know how there are PPs in Pokemon, right? So let's just say for really powerful moves there are 5 PPs, so then you can only use the move 5 times. Can you imagine the first time you use this move and the last time you use this move? I.e. 5 out of 5 and 1 out of 5.
Yeah, it's like taking a piss. Like the first time it's gonna
Yeah,
be a lot.
yeah.
and
Can you
then
imagine,
it's like-
like thunder, right? You use the first time you use thunder, you're like, "Rah!" But then the last time you use thunder, you're like,
And they should incorporate that into Pokemon.
exactly, like the damage is like thunder.
Well,
10%.
yeah, right.
Oh, Pikachu just couldn't get it
Yeah,
out.
yeah, but try to
Bring
like
it afterwards,
10%,
and it
yeah.
just keeps-
Exactly.
It goes down. They
Oh
should-
man, yeah, I reckon.
Actually, that's a great idea because what that does is it promotes the lower power moves,
Exactly. If you have
like
35
Scratch,
PP, yeah,
then you can use it for longer.
Tackling, because it's yeah, sure, it might hurt you a little bit, whatever.
But it's better for the long game.
Yeah, I mean that's
But the
like
thing is,
another
if you keep tackling, that doesn't make it easier to bite.
yeah, but
you
what I'm
get
saying is
tired.
that thunder or whatever.
Oh, you're talking about like an overall energy.
Yeah.
But I'm saying like these moves that have a less PP is because the
How about-
power is too strong. That's why they reduce the amount
But
that
that's
you
the
can use
thing.
it.
If you're using a high power move a whole lot, say, oh, okay, I can now use Scratch. No, you can't. You're tired. You've
But-
used up all your energy in these other moves.
But then it must be another different generation because tackle or scratch, for example, has to be different from the way you generate thunder.
Yeah, but okay, what about like kick versus dunk?
Okay, but that
There's no
is a
kick move.
relatively.
First of all.
It's like, I can't kick anymore.
Laser
I
can
kicked it
kick,
twice.
but I know double kick. Just kick.
Single kick. Single kick.
I'm too tired.
Yeah, they have to name it single kick because it's so like
Fine,
what?
low kick. I'm too tired to low kick. I better double kick instead.
Yeah.
But then like I love the moves like what was it like jump kick or high jump kick whatever it's called, and then if you miss you literally like get hurt.
You die.
It's like the most hilarious move ever. I think it was like the
So
karate
quite a bit of
dojo
damage.
in was it Saffron City, and then you go out battling and they're like high jump kick, and then for some reason the Pikachu that I had like it's like oh it dodged, and it's like hit my knee, kept on going and hit the wall, and it's like and I'm like Thundershock. Oh, I win! It's like what the fuck just happened? Oh man, I used to love that when I was a kid. You think you beat the game, but it's just a weirdly flawed game. So then I'm like, oh, I don't want to Hitmonlee because it can die. I'm gonna get a Hitmonchan. It's not too bad to have a Hitmonchan, in my opinion. Anyway, going back to food.
Either Hitmonlee or Hitmonchan.
I love these tax rants
What
videos.
would Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan taste like?
Very tough meat. Like organ meat.
It'll taste like cannibalism.
Yeah.
Trust me. It's
Well, Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan are meant to be humanoid.
Yeah, so
Pokemons.
how do you know it's tough meat though? Like,
Because they keep kicking around and moving a whole bunch. The muscles will be so worked up. I mean,
So it's
Yeah, but it's more like a spring on his legs. It's less like a. It'll be a bit metallic.
okay.
Because it's spring.
Okay, I've got another aside. You know how
Another aside. I thought this whole thing was an aside.
no, we're talking about eating Pokemon, but now this is an aside. You know how Chansey's pre-evolution is a happening, yes, right? Right? You know how Chansey has an egg at all times?
Don't eat the egg.
You know, but you know how they have soft boil and hard boil as in like a move, right?
Oh, okay.
Like it actually you can heal other people, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Like what is that?
What if the egg is not an egg? It's more like the placenta. You know how like.
You just made it worse. It's like, not an egg, it's just a placenta,
It's
guys.
like a fetus. Think of stem cells and
Eggs
harvesting
are
this for our
Yeah,
own
but
benefit.
like it's not gonna grow into anything. It's just like it's just like a yolk.
You mean
know,
an
kind of thing.
unfertilized egg?
Yeah, it's like a yeah.
Because
but-
there's literally no such thing as a male Chansey, right? Like actually no such thing.
Oh, really?
It's kind of like
The evolution
what
line
am I
is supposed to be
fucking?
female.
Yeah, but
Oh, didn't know that. Wow, that's a bit
Which
sexist.
kind of does make sense because if you got no companion gender, then you have.
Yeah,
Why-
concept of
But the
female
thing is,
makes
like,
sense.
I didn't realize the game was sexist.
The female Pokemon is the one
Legit.
that gives like so if you have a female Charmander and a male Squirtle, and let's just say for some reason they can mate, you will never get a child Squirtle. You'll always get a child Charmander. It's the female, genes that go across to it. They just need something to fuck it or whatever it is. Sorry guys.
So in a way-
oh,
in a
so
way-
you're saying
in a
is that
way-
the Lucy's DNA, so what you're saying, all
It'll be
chances are clones of each
mitochondrial.
other.
It just needs to be fertilized. For some reason, Pokemon can, for certain
Hang on.
breeds, can fertilize
It
each
will
other.
be mitochondrial DNA because maternal mitochondria is the only one that's passed down from the maternal.
But that would also imply that the child is a
Holy
clone of the
shit!
mother.
I think Ash and Archie have sold Pokemon just
Yeah, doesn't every
really.
chance is a
Wait,
clone, though?
can you give that a conclusion? I didn't quite understand that.
If it's mitochondrial DNA that propagates down and is expressed, does that mean that the father Pokemon DNA is not transmitted at all, or is just recessive? the
So
entire
if
time?
it's like purely just mitochondrial DNA, that's
Then every
only
chance is a
gonna-
clone.
Yeah. So
Every Blissey Chasey happening is a clone because
Holy shit!
or a mutation.
It makes so much sense for Joy
Well,
because
think
they
about
all look
where
the
is
same.
There's no other 50% of DNA.
I guess they want to be
100%
a
of the DNA
50%.
would always be Chansey. Therefore, every Chansey is a clone or a mutation of that. clone.
Unless if like the mitochondrial DNA is the only one that's like expressed and everything else is recessive. So in which case they can get the
Yes.
paternal
So which means
and it's
you would have
recessive.
a. Hang on. So that would mean you'd be able to have a Chansey with a Charmander bloodline, potentially.
Yeah, but
With
it's
that
still a
sense of
chance.
logic.
But it's still a chance.
Still
It just has
expressive
50%.
Chansey,
Yeah.
which could have Charmander like descendants, which would
It
mean
could
you
be,
could
yes.
then, I don't know, through Pokemon IVF effectively, transfer that into a female Charmander or something to get a.
So I guess that
Which
maybe
one else?
down the line, a Charmander could come from a Chansey, like a mom, like.
Well, no. The fact is, half the DNA will always be of the Chansey Blissey family.
But it
And
does
I
carry
don't see
that.
any way for that to vary because mitochondrial DNA isn't changing this entire time. So fine, they're not purely clones, but it's still one family line.
I guess like if it's like a male, like a male offspring, and then
Oh, true.
it's
Chansey
a
could have a
male-
male child.
yeah, if it's a male child, and
Then
then
it can't be, but it can't be Chansey.
then it
because
can't
there's
be unless if the
So
mom
it
is a
would be the,
Chansey.
female Chansey could have a male Charmander child with
With
Chansey
with
mitochondrial
Chansey
DNA.
mitochondrial DNA, but
At this point, I need the Jackie Chan. Wang.
I'm confused.
I think what we're basically saying is because if every Chansey is female, the easy assumption is that every child of a Chansey must also be female and a Chansey, which would make everything close.
Yeah,
That's the easy way to go about it.
yeah,
Which would mean they're all self-fertilizing hermaphrodites, so we just call them female like obedience,
yeah.
like snails. But if they snails are self-fertilized or whatever, but if they do breed with other Pokemon,
Yeah, no.
let's not bring Ditto into this. That's going to get way too confusing. Anything.
What would Ditto taste like?
But if you-
Oh wait, no, I want to join that conversation. Just.
Okay, well,
So okay, if you bring in Charmander DNA,
like a male Charmander.
yes, the child itself will still be female and Chansey expressed.
But could it be a male child with Chansey mitochondrial DNA?
It would have to be the mitochondrial DNA would have to be Chansey. Yeah. Unless it was just we never find male Chanseys, so they keep dying.
Which is possible.
Yeah, they could
Maybe
just
it's
be.
just embryonically lethal or something.
Yeah. But that would still mean that the offspring would be exclusively female.
That's
Cause-
assuming like the mitochondrial DNA is still dominant.
Yes,
Like,
true.
yeah. Which means it will always be female then.
Yeah.
Is it not?
Nina's about to fall asleep from that
I'm
conversation.
not. I'm just trying to.
Like if the mitochondrial DNA is always dominant, then for
But then we-
Chanseys and Blissey's or
Which would
whatever,
mean
it
that
will
would
always
just
be female.
we would just reject any
Yeah, it will just like
semblance of a Y chromosome would just never happen.
yeah, no, like just embryonically lethal. Like
Yeah.
it's just like it's a miscarriage. Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay, but that would also.
Okay, I think we've come to that conclusion.
So what's the conclusion? Somebody
Conclusion
please
is
give
like-
me a proper
So
explanation.
conclusion is like for Chansey, or like the whole Chansey bloodline pretty much is always gonna be female because any male DNA or whatever or male offspring is embryonically lethal and so they'll die in the womb. So it'll only be female.
That sounds like a cop out to that whole conversation. I don't know why, but like, that's just saying all males will die. That's it.
I mean,
No,
like,
okay, but it means none of the males are born, which is slightly different because you say all males will die. I mean,
Depends on at which point you consider a life like form.
we say that
embryonically
Is an
It's
embryo
like-
just to
life?
develop.
we're saying that the 8 or 9 cells aren't stable. That's what we're saying.
Can an embryo die? That's a different question.
I mean, it will try to
I mean,
develop
you'll have
to a
cell
point
death.
and just die. Like, it's just like how, like, you know, we have some genes that if you have a mutation in them, you're embryonically
Yeah,
lethal.
most mutations will kill you before you even are a thing.
Yeah, exactly. So you will start
Man,
to
I
develop,
can't keep up with the camera.
You start to develop in the womb, but because you have that mutation in that gene, and you cannot form properly, you just like you become a miscarriage. Pretty
Yeah.
much.
If you get that far.
If you,
That sounds like a really simple explanation to a very
Well,
complex
like,
problem
where
here.
you can't divide, your cells can't divide cleanly,
you just cannot form properly.
which means you don't.
And it's written in the
full-
DNA that you can't, basically.
Yeah, it's like there are a number of genes where if you do have a mutation in them, like you just turn out to be a miscarriage.
Well, there was one of the
Well,
consequences of the fact that. But the result is.
I don't know, man. I stopped listening after a little while. Over here, come over here.
But mitochondrial DNA is 100%.
Archer.
Yes.
Here.
It's 100%. Like it's not 50.
Alright. Thank you.
There you are.
Mitochondrial DNA is always from 100% from the mom. Like you
this
don't
is
have.
where I
That's what-
left
how
the
can you get
conversation.
2 different kinds of mitochondrial DNA?
All right, hang on a second. Hang on.
So every Chansey has exactly
One
the same
moment,
DNA.
one moment. One moment.
I'm gonna have a Gengar.
Let me. Yeah. Are you having a Gengar? Free cookie.
Tamago? No, I don't want Tamago. I want.
Okay.
Yasai.
Why does? Okay, hang on. All right, I got a question now. I don't know why you guys been talking about mitochondrial DNA.
Because chances are female.
Huh?
Chances
That's
only
okay.
female,
So-
and the only explanation
What does that have to do with
for that-
mitochondrial
no,
DNA?
You see, mitochondrial
Alright, I'm gonna have
DNA is
this one.
100% from
The
the mom.
DNA. Anyway.
Hence mitochondria.
Yeah, mitochondrial DNA is 100% from the mom. You don't get it from the dad at all. Like it's not. It's only 100% maternal. So that would explain like if they only get it from the mom, like 100% of it, that would explain why it's always female. Like, descendants are always female because you never get any mitochondrial DNA from your dad.
It's a separate chain. You get.
Wait, what? That makes no sense.
What do you mean?
Why? Okay, let's put mitochondrial DNA aside for a moment. Why can't we just talk about chromosomes?
Well, you see, but that would
No, we're
explain
not.
why it would be-
Mitochondrial DNA is not the same
It's still
as nuclear DNA, and it's nuclear DNA that truly determines the sex of an offspring, right?
That's why there are male and female of most species.
But for
Yes,
Nancy-
but here's the thing. Why can't we just say the XY chromosome can never, it will always have a miscarriage? Why does it have to involve mitochondria at all?
Simpler.
What's simpler?
Mitochondrial DNA.
No, XY chromosome is way
Yeah,
simpler.
but if we
Pokemon
try to
storyline.
organize a situation where you have to make sure
Take care,
that
ladies.
Y is always unstable. You can always
Yeah,
get
Y
a pair
is
of
always
experiments.
unstable. That's it.
Which, so how are you going to try and engineer that sort of situation?
What do you mean?
You have to introduce another X chromosome to make it all XX the entire time. Or you're saying chances always XO, which would make them.
They
sterile,
would-
wouldn't they?
Okay, let's say they are XX
Yeah.
and they breed with any Pokemon and they gain a Y chromosome, and normally that would be a male.
Yeah.
But there is no compatibility between X and Y for any chances. And that's it.
Yeah, but that's not just saying it's complicated. It's like, oh, because it's
That-
chances, you can't have male.
No, that's
Fine. Oh, because it's chances, you can't have
mitochondrial
XY.
DNA. What does that even do? Nothing. What is a
Nothing.
mitochondrial? It does nothing. It doesn't determine sex.
So.
It doesn't determine
That's
sex.
the way the scientific
It just
biological
happens to be that they were talking about Chansey, but what we're trying to say is that with any Pokemon breeding in general, not the ones that only get males, not the ones that only generate females, it is always whatever the mother is, that's what the child is going to be in terms of what the breed is, right?
Yes.
So it happened to be in this case that we were talking about
Oh.
Chanseys, but in a normal
Generally
circumstance-
speaking.
yes, in
humans,
general,
this is still true.
You're saying mitochondrial DNA determines species.
yes.
Ah, not the sex.
For Pokemon in this context.
And it happens to be that some Pokemon can only have a certain gender, i.e. Kangaskhan, i.e. Chansey.
What if-
And
We need the
What
pog
if it's
emoji
like
right
the
now.
temperature?
they are the mothers, so they're always
What if like they can be
so sort of like the same with Chansey.
what if they can be male or female, but it just happens for those particular species it's always female? How like alligators, for example, they always want I don't know what female or something like that.
Oh,
And
man,
then
true,
it's
it's
so
temperature
cute, aren't
changes.
they? Yeah, it's so
temperature
crazy.
change
Oh.
changes them to male.
Then how can they ever breed? Because they're only ever catching female.
What
Then
if
five
like
males exist.
what if at birth they're not male or female? And then like
Which would make them female, isn't it? Isn't all unspecified female by default?
okay, so maybe the female first and
Yeah.
then
Which would mean that everything you're catching is young enough that it's still female. So every chance we find and catch is always female.
So
And
if
when you
you
hatch them, they're female.
Oh my god, if you see a
Every
Chansey
Chansey-
with a walking stick, you're like,
It's probably-
it's a dude.
Yes.
It doesn't have
Have you
a
ever seen
pocket
an
anymore.
old Chansey? I rest my case.
yes. What if like
There is no such a thing as aging in
What if-
Pokemon.
Exactly. That's why chances
So,
are female.
so you know how with Taurus, right? Taurus, I'm pretty sure was able to be a female. I'm not quite sure, but let's just say like in the Pokemon world, for some reason they made it the Taurus and Miltank were like this, male and female thing. It seemed like different species, whatever, but it's actually the same.
I mean,
What-
Nidoran and Nidoran because
But then like.
Yeah.
For example, Nido King and Nido Queen. Oh God! I can't believe that's like the thing. Anyway, so
Still
that
annoying
aside,
because
Kangaskhan was never had another male compartment. Like,
unless you want to say it's
counterpart,
gonna be,
sorry.
What if there
Marowak.
are males but they just die really early?
But
Like, what
the
if they,
whole
like,
I like
idea,
the Marowak theory.
right?
Male Kangaskhan's a Marowak.
Yeah, even Marowak. It's kind of like Cubones take their mother's
Mother's skull.
skull.
I never noticed this. Does Marowak have anything to do with marijuana?
I mean,
Moving on.
they don't exclude that theory.
Whatever.
In the silence, I just heard Nina's stomach rumble. Must be hungry from some weed. Anyway, moving on. I feel as if like things like that don't make sense. It's kind of like what? So does that mean that every Cubone had a really tragic experience with their mother dying in front of them, where they had to be like?
What if every
population work?
Cubone kills your mother?
Yeah, that sounds like a real stable population.
That's the thing. But that's the issue is, right? There's always a lot of stories in the non-canon.
But then, hang on. But then you're assuming that Cubones can't give birth because you can have a Cubone mother.
What do you mean?
Exactly. So
You don't ever have to have Marowak to give more Cubones.
then where does Cubone get its skull from?
Now we're talking about can you get married at 18 and give consent as opposed to giving.
This has nothing to do with
I've
it.
never seen a Pokemon give consent to marriage.
So that means Cubone kills Cubone. Wait, does that mean there's a limited number of Cubones Marowaks in the world?
It would imply that it's every mother has one child only, because you can't have two Cubones because you're going to fight with a skull.
But the issue is every single Cubone.
Then again, every...
Okay, what happens if a Cubone dies with no offspring?
Shite.
Wait, hang on. Wait. We have a maths problem here. You guys are ignoring one important factor.
Population
Which
can't
is?
go up.
You're ignoring one very important factor before you even proceed. When a Cubone puts a skull above his head, or a Marowak puts a skull on his head, and he dies, how many skulls are remaining?
Maybe.
Doesn't matter whether someone kills him. If a Cubone dies, how many skulls are there?
Well, it's own skull plus the hat it's wearing.
2. We have a multiplication factor here. So, you see?
True, yeah.
I just solved it. So there's no limit because you have its own skull,
No. You don't
which will
understand.
rot away. I mean,
In
not the skin will
Pokédex
rot
or
away.
whatever, right? It is said that it takes the mother's.
But it doesn't say whether it's outside skull or the inside skull. We have the ability to generate two Cubone. What if the Marowak has 2 children?
But do you realize that some, let's just say a tortoise or a turtle, right? Their shell, their actual shell is part of their body, right? So they don't have a shell
Yes.
inside a shell.
No.
That shell is their actual structure.
Yep. What's this got to do with?
Imagine.
Are you saying Marowak doesn't have an
It's
internal?
literally that is the exoskeleton.
Are you sure?
What if it doesn't have a skull? Like,
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
remove
That's
the-
what he's saying.
Exactly.
That's what he's saying.
It's an exoskeleton.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah, I know.
But that doesn't make sense because then how does Cubone stand up if it doesn't have any bone at all?
No, so then the mother dies, has the exoskeleton, puts it on his head, and that's becomes
So
his
you're
voice.
saying the
So
rest of the body,
Cubone-
hang on, the rest of the body is bone inside except the skull.
Remember, the evolution is the idea.
But hang on, my theory works better though. That in the end you can have 2 Cubones as opposed to 1, so that otherwise you'll always have a limit to the number of Cubones and Marowaks in the world.
I like
Well,
having a
let's
way to
try
get more skulls generated. That sounds really
I
bad.
like the cat-
You will end up with the same Pokemon Home
Procuring
ID
the-
tracker. Did you know? So, I don't think I've explained it to you this before, but on Pokemon Home they have a tracker. And any Pokemon that has the same tracker gets deleted, like as another one, so it's a duplicate.
Oh yeah.
But it gives you that tracker when you put something in it. So when you duplicate something in Pokemon Home, it doesn't work.
Okay.
Or if you duplicate, or if something's been through Pokemon Home and it's gone to another game, comes back, and you've duplicated it somewhere else, it also gets deleted.
Yeah.
Now, the funny thing is, I don't. So Nintendo must have like not thought about this clearly. But the funny thing is, Nincada, what happens when it evolves?
Well, it splits.
That's right. What do you think happens to the home tracker ID?
Okay.
Is it
So-
really that stupid?
Yeah.
doesn't
So there was a
generate
time.
your
I
ID?
think they patched it, but there was a time where if a Nincada's been through home, you evolve it in Pokemon Sword and Shield, right? And then there's Ninjask and Shedinja evolved. They have the same tracker. They both go into Pokemon Home. One of them is deleted.
Wow. That is. Okay. So when you involve a Nincada, right, and your party, as in you can carry up to 6 Pokemon, right? If that is full, you will only have a Ninjask. But if you have 5 Pokemon, that means you have 1 extra space, when you evolve a Ninkata, it actually evolves into a ninjas, and that extra 6th spot turns into a Shinichi.
Doesn't matter. One evolution creates 2 Pokemons.
Where does it
That's the issue. And they have the same ID.
When one Pokemon evolves,
It's
it
a shell.
doesn't just turns into
It's
a
called-
new Pokemon, another Pokemon.
It's called a
appears.
Shedinja. It's the shell.
Basically, when it evolves, it comes out of its shell. And by the way, the shell is.
Think of a cicada.
The
it's
shell,
a cicada
yeah,
Pokemon.
the shell
You know when
actually
the
is a
cicada
ghost type
just, like,
because it's kind of like
you have
dead.
the cicada shell. That's what Shed Ninja is.
It's shed.
You've caught that Pokemon. It was in the research task of Pogo.
Let's try and see.
Anyway, that's got nothing to do with Pogo. I'm just talking about Pokemon at home. So yeah, duplicates.
That's
They're a little
so
bit-
weird, but it makes sense because how can you actually? That's a really weirdly
Let's check Ninja.
specific thing.
Scenario, yeah.
So that is the one,
Hence
and
why
it
it's
only
okay.
has 1 HP. And it's
'Cause it's a shell.
It's called Nature Guard.
Wonder God.
Wonder Guard. She's in the one or something.
It only takes damage if the attack is super effective. It does not take damage any other time, and it's a ghost type. That means normal attacks, fighting attacks don't work. They do use it competitively,
No,
in very very specific scenarios.
It's extremely useful because if it has the first attack, it can at least do some damage before taking the hit
Yeah.
and swapping out.
It's the funniest.
Or you have a held move and then you swap the move. I mean,
What?
the item you have into them. So like a life orb or a burn orb or whatever it is, and then you use that, then you might die in the next turn, but at least you gave this orb that is going to decrease their
Is this
ability.
all like type null?
Yes, it's a shell.
Did you
So
make-
Ninkata evolves
It's
into
a
Ninja,
newer cheesecake with a
but it also has a
So
Shedinja.
it's egg,
Shit,
cream
Ninja
cheese,
was
sour cream,
nicer.
and so it's a baked cheesecake that won't melt in the heat.
Look, you
Sorry,
really
so-
need
It's a
So-
baked cheesecake.
Oh, it's a big.
With Shedinja, right? There was a time when I battled a Shedinja, and none of my Pokemons had a super effective move. Like,
That's when you die.
so I lost to this agenda. It basically swept my team. But I wasn't like necessarily prepared for it. I just didn't have a Pokemon with a super effective move on my team.
There's
Ooh,
only one
what
way
did Archie
to
make?
beat.
You made like passion fruit cheesecake.
It's a baked New York cheesecake.
You made it?
Baked New York.
I like how it's a perfect
To the
square.
baked cheesecake, which is
It fits perfectly in a square shape in a square container.
Or is this egg in it? So you went to you blind bake the base and bake the rest on top of that equation.
It's really, it looks really good.
I hate cheesecake
Check
gravy.
the
It's so
recipe.
Sure. It's a common. I grabbed 2 recipes, couldn't find anything that matched what I wanted.
Go ahead. I've had my like. Anyway, so
I would not eat Shedinja.
there's actually one way to defeat a Shed Ninja.
Use the right type.
No.
Okay. So if you got
If
to
it's
that,
the last Pokemon, right?
Struggle.
Struggle. That's it. That's the only way to do it.
Say again?
Struggle.
What do you mean?
Struggle is.
No, I know what struggle is,
types.
but
You
Huh?
let it
It's-
run out of PPs.
I think
Let who run on
Shed
PPs?
Ninja.
Struggle.
Why do you
want
wanna do that?
Then it has to use Struggle, and it will recoil
And
it
die.
will die. That's
What-
the only way to defeat it if you don't have a super effective move.
oh, make it
Oh, I
struggle.
think you struggle.
No.
I wonder. I forgot what it is, but I think does it have levitate? I wonder
It doesn't matter.
because I'm thinking like
it needs to kill itself.
no.
okay?
Does
That's how you
terrain
let
kill it? Does terrain kill it?
You mean like sandstorm?
Yeah, I don't remember. Does it?
I don't remember either. I don't.
Because like
the one
spikes and
time-
shit.
Can you get a stats effect?
Is that flying ghost or bug ghost?
I don't think you can get a
Probably
stat.
bug ghost.
Because the thing, because he doesn't have to take damage if you poison it, but it's still like
So
suffer
poison
damage.
should not be so. It's ghost bug.
It should
I don't
work.
think Poison is something.
No, that's the thing.
would
So you
work
can't use a damage dealing poison move.
You can do
Like,
toxic.
Could you poison it?
I think you
And
can.
let
I think you can. Doesn't say you can't.
It's not immune to non-supervision statuses.
Don't know. No, we have to consult the competitive
Can you
players.
paralyze it?
All right, guys, let's stop talking about a topic that one of the viewers might be like, "This is so dumb. I already know
I'm
the
sorry.
answer to this."
Okay, don't eat your ninja. It'll
Alright,
just be scaly.
So, Alcremie, how delicious!
oh yeah, passion fruit alcremie right here.
Like legitimately speaking it.
All right, I'm gonna take a bite. Let me try.
It's kind of like okay, let's G max the shit out of it so we can feed. It's kind of like
How would Gmax change the flavor?
no, it's just the volume.
G-Max.
We just so in the how many times you get G max again?
3.
Oh,
3? In the 3 turns, how many people can you feed when you cut out
Yeah.
the G-Max up?
If you give it
The
a potion,
world.
does it regenerate?
Solve world hunger.
World.
We'll give everyone diabetes.
That's the thing. If you do eat, let's just say Alcremie is G-Maxing, and you take a bite out of G-Max Alcremie, what happens? What happens? Like, what actually
I
happens?
mean, it would hurt, right? So it has to lose some health.
So it's like,
if you give it a potion, I would say you can't get it back. I don't care how good your medical care is.
Okay,
If you chop
so-
off a leg,
okay.
you're not growing your leg.
but then, you know how...
But depends. If you chop off hair, it grows back. Depends on what it's like
Okay.
as a
If I chop off
biological
your hair,
factor.
Like chop off your arm, it's not coming back.
No, so it depends on what it
Yeah,
is.
who knows? This cream on Alcremie might be...
Might be it's like shed skin.
Shed,
Might be just
Shed
epidermis.
Ninja. It might...
Alcremie says less tasty if you call it shed skin.
Oh man, why not? Anyway, so...
But the
let's
cream
say-
is
No,
like,
why
it
not
may
not
just
taste
be like sweat.
For some reason, I feel like Alcremie's cream will be like shaving cream. It's not like the whipped cream.
Oh, come
It's meant to
on,
look tasty,
no.
but-
That's just
And
We
ruins
don't
it
want
for
to be
me.
tasty, otherwise you just get to death.
Yeah.
I really want like Game
Vanilla,
Freak to
some
make
snow
Pokemon that's like shaving
Yeah, maybe it'll
cream.
smell like,
It's
you know,
like-
shaving cream good, like lemony or whatever.
Yeah.
have you had the breakfast with it?
The
Yeah,
cheesecake's
no,
really good,
super
by the way.
yummy.
Yeah, it's good.
It's really good.
I'm gonna have another bite.
Wait, have you had the thing?
Yes, I have. It's super yummy. I'm gonna have like, half of that by myself later, so don't worry.
Wow, you guys, we just talked for 36 minutes about, well, actually, not much.
About eating
Might be
shit.
edible. Will Marco Grimer be edible?
No,
Oh.
the main toxic slugs, the garbage collection. I mean, is pond scum edible?
What if it's like a delicacy like smelly tofu?
What about Pikachu?
Like stinky
No, that's
tofu?
A mouse. Ew.
So
Probably
yes, it is
wouldn't-
edible.
Yeah, I wouldn't eat that.
Nina.
No, but have you seen like how pudgy Pikachu is? There's a lot of good meat on that.
G-Max Peach
It'd be like a
Pikachu.
really good guinea pig or something.
Yeah. I mean, of course,
You know,
for this
isn't,
generation, like Gen 1 Pikachu, that's like a lot of meat. Gen
Yeah,
like 7 and 8,
and
it's too
slimmed down.
skin of
Isn't
face.
Dynamax, I think I read in the description somewhere, Dynamax is just a projection of a Pokemon.
Oh, so it's just-
No way. Actually?
Like, it gets projected to a big, like, image.
No.
So it doesn't do anything.
I don't know. I don't know where I read that.
You know how G-Max and Dynamax is like...
They're only slightly different.
Yeah,
They would change form and they get projected. I don't know.
Yeah,
Is that
but
right?
Why would it change form and be projected? One, the big projection makes sense that it might be just a projection because of the energy in the well, but then a G-Max doesn't make sense to me because it's kind of like it's actually changed.
Well, it's like a Mega Evolution but
yeah,
like...
but it's not a projection of the evolution. They actually changed
No.
into something.
Yeah,
Right?
but imagine Charizard, right? It Mega Evolves, then it gets G-Maxed, then it's basically... so it gets Dynamax, and basically it's a G-Max. Then
But-
when it comes back, it loses its Mega
But
Evolution
again,
form.
what I'm trying to say is if a G-Max is like just another Mega Evolved Dynamax version of it, then you would expect the G-Max Charizard to be black and has blue flame. But
No,
it
no,
doesn't.
no, 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 of
You know
course,
what I
of
mean?
course. No,
Like,
no,
I'm
what
saying
I'm
that-
saying
yeah, I
is
know what
the
you're saying,
analogy of it is
But I'm saying that
that
like,
it still
if
works.
you really get specific to it, then you'd be like, okay, we know that a Dynamax Pokemon is just quite literally an enlarged version of a Pokemon. Like, it actually is an enlarged version of a
Always
Pokemon.
like a drink.
But then a G-Max is, like, it's a special, like, only certain Pokemon can G-Max. Which, in my opinion, is a little bit annoying because I'm kind of like, okay, that's just the designers being like, look, I can't be fudged, like, making all these designs because it's sort of like Mega Evolution. It's kind of like, okay, why can a Charizard Mega Evolve but not a Pikachu? Or a Raichu? Why?
That's
I
how
really
far
want
along
that.
which species has come. It's just like monkeys can use full, but some other animals can't, right?
But it's like a plant can Mega Evolve, i.e. Venusaur can Mega Evolve.
Here you go. All right, here's Bulbapedia talking about Dynamaxing. Dynamax is a temporary transformation affecting Pokemon that was introduced in Gen 8. Trainers who obtain a Dynamax band are able to Dynamax their Pokemon. According to Professor Magnolia,
Oh,
delicious.
That's the one that the Dex pulled.
the
rainbow.
Pokemon distorts... here, listen to this. Listen to this.
Old lady. Yeah.
Guys, the Pokemon distorts space to change its size while affecting the world around them. This transformation has another special variant called Gigantamax.
Right.
So what?
So
That
Gigantamax
isn't
is
even.
actually like.
It doesn't do anything. It just changes the universe around it instead.
So
Yeah, but that's
the
like
world
saying,
got
like, I'm
smaller
not running
around
fast.
it.
Like the world is running like quicker.
Yeah, what?
Like a Futurama
This is
thing
some
with the
Einstein's
statistics.
theory.
Everything else goes faster.
Hey.
Bull crap, huh? No one ever thought about that. Hey.
So when two Pokemon Dynamax, how does that make any sense?
Well, they're now going at relative speeds to the world, but they are a constant speed relative to each other.
So they would be normal.
You know what's
So
weird
it's
is
like length contraction when the
Oh,
goal
of course.
grows.
Just
What's-
into that.
what's weirdest is, you know those Dynamax moves or Gmax moves?
Yeah,
They are so massive.
like OP, like actually.
No, they look so OP. But if you were like a bit resistant,
NBE.
it's just like, yeah, not very effective. And it's like 2 little HP damage. You're like, wow, that looked really awesome. But that Thunder did like nothing. I mean, that Dynamax move did
You
nothing.
really need to build buildings that are NBE to nature because it's kind of like. Nah, sorry, man, we're still good.
That's pretty much what it
I
is.
lost 2 windows.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's alright. It's alright. That's the sacrifice.
Spray with a potion, Windows bad.
It's like when you use like a level 1 against a level 100 and your level 1 Dynamaxes and use this massive Thunderbolt and it's like a little tickle.
It's like, stop it.
Oh.
Man, we should so do that. Why are we making these kind of videos, man? What the hell? Oh my gosh. Oh man. Yeah. No, it just there's a lot of things in the Pokemon world that I wish they would address, but once you address it, it just ruins the fantasy of it all. But I'm kind of like, oh well, I mean, you've been going on for like what, 20 whatever years, right? Like nearly 20 years? Is it over 20 years now? Pokemon came out.
Well, no, it came out pre-millennium.
90,
So, yes.
no, but it was 95 or 96
So it's
when
25
Pokemon
years.
came out. So, yeah. 20, nearly 25 years, right? So if you think about it that way, it's kind of like, can we just have this scene in an anime where they're literally butchering a Magikarp just because it's kind of like, oh, this is the delicacy, and it's kind of like, Magikarp, but it's okay, like I'm willing to deal with it, and then like I don't care if there's some like vegetarian or vegan activists that come out and say like, like Pokemon not food, like something like that. Like
Isn't that what,
I just want something like that because it's kind of like,
Was that natural thing? It was a lot of his ideas. Like, don't keep Pokemon, let them be free.
and.
Yeah.
Yes, but I feel as if that's because like Pokemon was used for fighting, for entertainment, for blah blah blah.
You
but
can see
then
someone
something else.
just jumping because, oh, also don't eat them.
And of course, like I think and had a little bit of a different story where it was kind of like, oh, my father or whatever was the team. I think the head of this committee where they were trying to control the world
Committee, yeah.
by freeing the Pokemon, and therefore, and it was a bit of a contradiction within
Yes.
himself, and N realized that, and that's why he was a little bit conflicted when he was battling them, and he was like, I'm not really against you, but I'm not really for you either, and I'm not against my father, but I definitely don't agree with his, whatever he's doing and whatnot, and N?
How generation was it?
Black and White.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never played that.
He was very like, he was for the Pokemon.
Yes. So he would not eat Pokemon.
But it's as if like, he wouldn't want to use it for war, he wouldn't want to use it for battle, but he knows that people are using it for all this kind of stuff, and then his father was like, like Team Rocket kind of thing, like he was part of this like team, I'm gonna say Lance probably? I don't know, like one of these like team whatevers, and then because his father was on top of that, he was kind of like, you can't tell when you're playing the game that whether he was against you or whether he was for you. But you do battles with him because he's kind of like, oh, I want to test out your strength or whatever. But then he gives out this vibe that like he's this humanitarian thing where you're like, okay, he's definitely vegan. He definitely does not have meat with this stuff. And then you go through all of this, and it's kind of like, and then he ends up getting Reshiram or Zekrom, as opposed to whatever the hell you get. So if you get Zekrom, he gets Reshiram. If you get Reshiram, he gets Zekrom, and then you kind of fight towards it together. So, yeah, he was definitely like this weird, like for me, throughout Pokemon, it was always like, this team is bad, this is always bad. But then N comes in and B's like, oh, okay, you know, I'm a vegan, and I support nature. You kind of like, oh, I don't know how to deal with you. Yeah. As a kid, at least.
Why
I
is
was
it
kind
not
of
black
like,
and white?
yeah, no, that was, oh man, it must have definitely been an American guy who named the goddamn thing. It's kind of like, this is the plot, we're still wondering what we're gonna name it. You said N was very confused about it, but yes. They were black and white. Okay, we'll do that. Yeah, no. But it was actually such a big hit that it was the
Have you
first
played
time.
Black and White, Archie?
Nope.
How do you know the lore of Black and White?
I don't know.
It was the first
A
time
few
that
friends have.
Pokemon actually went Black and White 2. It was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It was like...
It's
like
supposed to grey.
Every single time, let's just say
They
like...
tend to be different.
Leaf Green and Fire Red. Okay, it's like, you know, red and green, and they've changed it to Leaf Green and Fire Red.
Yeah.
Heart Gold, Soul Silver, they've changed that as well. Omega Ruby, what was it? Alpha Sapphire? I think?
It was Oris, so yeah.
Yeah, right? Alpha Sapphire. And then it's kind of like, okay, cool, these are the remakes.
Yeah.
But then with Black and White, they just
What is
literally went,
called?
Black and White, too. It's kind of like, oh.
But it's different. It's different. It's
It's
Black
expansion.
White 2 is an expansion. Is a new game that is basically an expansion of Black and White. Whereas Heart Gold is a remake of Gold, and it's generations after.
But
Not
it has
straight after.
an expansion. Let's just say Leaf Green. And
It has
Fire
an
Red.
expansion, but it's not straight after.
But-
It's like you go back
Yeah,
and
yeah,
add
no,
material.
Don't get me wrong. Like Gold and Silver, for example, was a so when Red and Green was released in Japan, and then you know years after you have your blue and your yellow, whatever. But like Gold and Silver was 3 years post the event of Red and Green, right? That's what Gold and Silver was, right? So then if you start thinking about it, you're like, what about blue? What about yellow? What about crystal? What about, you know, in Ruby and Sapphire? What
about
emerald? Right? That's sort of like a remake and then added a bit of a storyline. Remake, added a bit of storyline, right? So when you have red and green and then you have gold and silver, that is literally like a 3-year period of time that
Right.
happened between red and green.
Right.
So black and white, followed by black and white 2, of course, you're right. Black and white 2 was literally based 3 years after black and white. So yeah, I get it. Right?
But it
it
hasn't-
is not black and white with a bit of a change. It is literally set 3 years in the future.
Yeah.
But then I'm kind of like, why'd you make it black and white 2 after all this time?
So what should it be?
I don't know. I
Honestly,
really think that they
how-
should have introduced another series of.
But then it hasn't introduced new Pokemons, like not a large number of generational Pokemons.
yeah, but I'm
So
saying
that's
that
the-
they should have, but they didn't because they didn't have that amount of. I don't know.
They haven't got that material at the time
Exactly.
to
So
make.
then why
Need
would
it.
you why would you make a game that's based 3 years in the future when every single time a game is like set 3 years or 2 years in the future, there's another generation of Pokemon forming, or
Really?
yes, every single time. It's
How do
been
you
like that.
how do you know that? So you're saying Sword and Shield would be 3 years after X and Y, but there's no.
Sun and Moon? Maybe.
Is there any linking story?
But
I
then-
mean, sorry, Sun and Moon.
So that's why after Black and White came, right? And then came Sun and then Moon, and then after that it was Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, where it was like, okay, what is actually different about Sun and Moon versus Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon is that they actually go into the Ultra World, or wherever the hell the other place is, where you can actually have a different set of adventures. But it's actually still based on Sun and Moon. And then afterwards it was Black and White. No, not Black and White, Sword and Shield, right? So it's kind of like, once you start doing one and then number 2, then you can have your Sun and Moon and then your Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon directly next to each other. Whereas Gold and Silver, a very long time ago, and then
That's
Heart
a
Gold,
really
Soul Silver, which is a real remake. So let's just say Leaf Green and Fire Red. You know what happened? What was the difference between the original Red and Green and Blue that was released versus Leaf Green and Fire Red? there's this thing called the Sevi Islands, where they can literally go to these islands, which is south of Kanto, where it's kind of like, oh, what the hell? Like, we didn't.
Oh
even
yeah,
know.
Orange Islands. Yeah.
Yeah, right? Well, no, it's not Orange Islands. It was
Wait, what?
quite literally called the Sevi Islands. There
Oh,
were
really?
7 islands where you can literally explore, and then you go through all of it. It's kind of like, oh, this one has this hotspot for this. You can go to this for this exploration. You could, oh, for some reason, see Johto type Pokemon. Oh, it turns out that Johto Pokemon can go there. You go to this island, you can learn a special move. You go to this island, you can unlock a series of, puzzles that releases unknown. Which means that it's not only Johto that has unknowns, it's just ancient areas where you have unknowns. You do all of this and then you can go see Deoxys if you want to, if you have this special pass, blah 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 blah. So there's these islands that reveals itself within your normal gameplay within Kanto, which was never available in Red and Green and Blue. But it's kind of like, okay, since it's a remake, let's just add a bunch of other shit. Because I think it was like the 3rd generation was already released by that point, which means that anything that is up to the 3rd generation can be included in this Kanto remake. And then let's just say the Heart Gold and Soul Silver, man, it's already made up into Sinnoh. So Pearl, Diamond, and Platinum. Which means that in the Heart Gold and Soul Silver remake, you have this thing where you can go to this new place that is recently discovered. Yeah, if you know the Sylph Alps, it's the place where in the Johto region where the unknown was originally discovered, or the letters of the unknown was discovered, and therefore you as gold or silver would go into these ruins, and then you'd be like, oh shit, this is how you do the puzzles, and then all these unknowns start appearing. You go to this place in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and then there's this place called the Sinjo Ruins. So it's the Sinnoh and the Johto area where it just matches. So you go through this Alps area, like Alphabet Alps. In Johto, you end in this midpoint of Sinnoh and Johto that it connects spatially for some reason. And that reason is because Palkia, Dialga, had distorted this space-time where it connects, and then you can meet either Palkia or Dialga, depending on which Pokemon that you bring from the other games and whatnot. Triggers an event, and then you do that. And if you have Palkia and Dialga at the same time in your party and you go to that same area, you can accidentally warp space-time and go into the underworld and meet Giratina. And that's where you can meet Giratina. So they make this spin-off thing where it's kind of like, oh, I didn't even know that this thing existed in Johto. Well, it didn't, and they just randomly added it because they can. But again, this is generations afterwards, as opposed to Black and White. It was like, this event happened
3 years later.
and then the developers literally 3 years later released a game that was based 3 years later, where it was kind of like, okay, here we go.
I mean, they didn't need to do more stuff. People were still going to buy it.
It was just weird because I kind of felt like it was a bit lazy, and in fact it is lazy, but at the same time
They were done fast.
I don't know. I think it was still fine for what they did, but I felt as if like everyone was slightly disappointed, and they knew that if Black and White 2 can come out when Sun and Moon came out, they knew that Sun and Moon 2 can come out, which it did, except in a Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, where they're like, they're going to the Ultra versus now, it's going to be different.
So why bother playing the base game? Just play the new one.
Yeah,
with
exactly.
Ultra and all that stuff.
It was just like kind of weird, and yeah, every single storyline is great, and I think that they obviously as you get older, you kind of expect it to be more diverse, but it's not going to be because it's always going to be based towards kids. So
Yeah,
you're the one who's growing, but the game itself is still going to be based towards a certain.
Your fault for getting older.
Exactly, right? Yeah, stop the time yourself.
Hey, Tex.
And then it'll be fine.
Do a barrel roll. Okay,
You
go
see
on.
that? That was too much for me. I'm just. Oh,
All right.
anyway, oh gosh.
Right. So,
Wow, you didn't stop there. Yeah, I don't think I noticed you take a breath.
Yeah, I reckon. Look, the moral of the story is that we just need a Magikarp, a cool fish, and just
And seeking.
seeking.
Shiny magic
Of
one?
course.
Regular
Wait, is seeking just goldfish? Do we want to eat a goldfish?
Wait.
No,
It looks
it's a
lovely.
large goldfish.
Yeah, but like you can get, those really like fat chunky goldfish where you're like, oh yeah, if I just went like, you might taste nice with a bit of soy sauce and wasabi, but you know,
I mean, what?
it's kind
Okay.
of.
It's like with any other fish, you want to prepare properly.
Yeah,
Like, I would probably coach it.
Yeah,
Card, drill,
yeah. No, Magic Card apparently has like really thick scales, and the reason why that it's not fished is because its scales are so thick, and that most of the body are scales. So then there's
What?
no point in eating it.
For real?
I feel like Magic Cup would make
That's how it becomes so big.
Yeah, definitely.
A magic card when it
What
evolves,
scales are we getting all
all the scales just get spread out.
Pretty much, and you know how like
What does it say about Gyarados? Does it also have really internal?
Seems like
I think
it's-
cartilage.
Thick scales?
It's
It
cartilage.
seems like all just cartilage and you just wouldn't
Yeah.
eat it. It's like eating a shark. Like you don't eat shark meat. You can eat the fin, I guess, if you really want to, but you can't eat the meat.
Oh really?
And you shouldn't eat the fin of a shark.
You shouldn't eat the fin of the shark. Yeah.
Wait, what? Why can't you eat the meat?
It's different.
There isn't really much there.
Yeah, there's nothing there. It's just like
And why shouldn't you eat the fin?
Because it's unethical and bad. It's not.
So tell us about waylording.
wasn't Whale Lord literally like 120 meters long? Like
I think it's stupidly large in size.
Just put it in the Pokemon Go gym and see what happens.
Well, if you put it in a gym, every other Pokemon just goes the other side of the gym.
Cannot fit.
you probably can't have it, right? You wouldn't be able to have it, right?
Well, you couldn't like
Is there-
you
is
couldn't
there
like
a-
take a whale
Is
home.
there like a size limit to Pokemon? Like Pokemon? Like there must be a size limit. right?
I don't know. I think the heavy balls can take large Pokemon, but I'm not quite sure.
No, they can all take large Pokemon.
No, but aren't heavy balls designed for large Pokemon?
Yeah, they are
So-
for heavier weight
Yeah, I
ones.
mean,
it's from the April Fools.
Oh.
Do you even know what April Fools
I
is?
don't even know
Oh.
what it is, so.
Is that green
I think you meant to use heavy
colour
balls for legendaries before you can get
No.
last balls and stuff.
Jesus Christ. So apparently Whale Lord in height is 14.5 meters.
Oh,
But that's height.
okay.
But
so
there's
3
no
stories.
length.
The length?
Oh, no one tells you the length because it doesn't hold it vertically when measuring.
So okay, what's a height of a blue whale? What's the dimensions of a blue whale? Just for context. Because that's what the comparison, right? That's the giant whale people.
Yeah.
Oh wait, sorry. 47 so it's 47 feet 7 inches.
Oh.
What the fuck's
It's small.
Divided by 3, so that's what, 15?
then multiply by 3,
Yeah. No.
right? Multiply by
The inches.
No,
to meters?
feet to meters.
Yeah, divided by 3.
Oh,
Feet is small
shite.
meters.
Yeah, so
About
it is
15 meters.
It is 15 meters.
So yeah, 14 meters. So,
Okay, so 15 meters. Well,
It's
apparently
big, but
it
it's not
weighs
couple ton?
400.
Oh,
Look around.
not even
It's not
ton.
even that much.
Well, okay, it's a lot of bloodwood. So
Okay.
it's not exactly made of lead.
Okay, it was the blue whale the largest whale, or was the humpback? What was the largest? Blue whale's the largest, right? Blue whale, leg.
I got its weight and stuff as well.
Yeah. Okay, apparently females are 25 meters long.
Well, and how's the females weigh?
Searching.
You never asked that, Archie.
That's why I'm asking Tux to Google it instead of me.
Never Google a girl's weight.
Wait.
Come on, Archie.
That's why I'm getting Tux to do it instead.
How heavy is Nina? Hello, Google.
Internet, you don't.
How heavy is Nina?
Holy shite! 190 tons.
Yeah.
That's not
So-
really.
Oh, no response. Hey, Google.
29.9.
How heavy is Nina?
is the max it's been?
On the website CNN.com, they say she reached an all-time low of 125 pounds by the time she finished college in 2005.
125 pounds.
Wow.
Now lives in Gaithersburg, Maryland. To find out more, look for the link in your Google Home or Google Assistant app.
That's fucking weird.
There you go. Now we know.
That's actually pretty accurate.
What?
What? That was a joke.
You went to Maryland?
Oh no, I mentioned never mind.
Yes, Google Home just quickly did a scan of you and figured out your weight.
Imagine like.
Animal moonshine existed?
Really? It's surprising because I thought insects we like.
What's happened?
30 meters.
That's all.
It's just like the length of.
You can well, square people.
What are you talking about?
So 173. Hang on. What's heavier, metric ton or imperial ton?
Well, clearly imperial. Wait, sorry, metric. is wait, no, Imperial's heavier because 173
173
tons
Is it 2,000
versus
pounds to a ton?
wait, isn't
It's
the
2.2 pounds per kilo.
Yeah, I just recorded lightning.
Yeah,
yeah? What are you doing? Oh,
Oh yeah, Truffles. I didn't even notice she wasn't here.
Alright, if it's 30 minutes long.
I'll see you soon.
That would mean there is going to be 1 ton per meter.
Alright, they're just doing maths now, and video is 1 hour long now, so I am going to cut it short. Any last words?
Well, it's a million cubic mils.
eat quillfish. As long as
Fugu.
the poison
Careful.
sac is
Sashimi
rid of.
style.
Fish carefully.
It's fine. They'll do it.
Is goldfish even poisonous? Like maybe it's like
It's poison water, I think.
Oh, okay.
I think so.
Yeah, I think it's
Well,
poison.
there you go.
It's meant to be
It's a
pufferfish, so.
pufferfish Pokemon. So
If you're fancy, eat unpheasant.
Well, like
Unfist.
right now and first.
Oh, I do.
oh god, eating Maritz. My
Yeah.
brain.
Eating
oh,
Maritz.
God.
Yeah,
The cute little thing.
You can
Oh, what was the evolution's name?
there.
Fluffy?
Ampharos.
Fluffy and
No,
Ampharos.
Ampharos does not look yummy. Fluffy looks yummy.
F
It's kind
for
of like,
Mareep.
Hey, I've got some muscles, you know, like it's alright.
We've also had a bit of torchic.
That's what I was.
Yeah. What is it? Like it's more like what is that? The singing bird, whatever. The Hawaiian singing bird thing.
Oh, Oricorio.
Yes,
Yeah.
Oricorio,
They're
Oricorio.
more like chickens to me than torchic.
What
Well,
about Blaziken? No, not Blaziken, Combuskin.
It
The
seems
middle
like
one.
what is an actual chicken Pokemon?
it seems
Like there
like
has to be one.
Blaziken seems more like a rooster, which you don't really eat. It's
Yes,
just-
that gives me that vibe.
Yeah, but
I'm kind of like,
Oricorio
oh,
is not
okay.
like chicken.
You know what's a chicken Pokemon? Galarian Zapdos.
yes.
Yes.
That's
The
actually
Road
right.
Runner fighting flying
Yeah,
type.
legit, like, yeah, that is actually there. But,
It's all leg.
but
No, hang on,
in-
fighting-
In the old school, like, you know how Nintendo with the, like, Zeldas and the chicken attacking, you think that, you know, the chicken will be emphasized in the gameplay. So then, what is, in the first generation,
The pudgy chicken Pokemon.
what is a chicken Pokemon? Like, in the first gen, I'm trying to think. There probably is one.
Sparrow?
But that's a sparrow. Pidgey is a Pidgeot. You're right. And then so let's just move those guys aside. So then what other flying types?
What other domestic Pokemon are? Because chicken was always found like at home and that sort of thing.
Well, there is never. I think that's what I have a feeling
What was the
Pokemon on
pet Pokemon?
purpose is trying to avoid the chicken Pokemon because they know that they'll be like, oh, that's what everyone must have been eating
Yeah.
the entire time. And so something like Magikarp was kind of like they didn't want to admit it, but they do eat Magikarp all the time.
Yeah, I mean, why is fishing so much?
Wow, somehow we're still talking about eating Pokemons. But I'm going to cut the video
No,
short
Gen 1.
now.
Gen 1
Make
only.
sure you...
Gen 1 only. Comment Gen 1 chicken Pokemon. If KFC was to exist in purely the Kanto region, what would Colonel Kanto say about
Professor Sanders.
What would Professor Sanders choose?
Collaboration, bro.
Right.
What roast would you make?
Fried
What
chicken.
roast
Exactly.
would you make?
What would you do?
What-
Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Comment
yeah.
down below. Let us know your favorite Pokemon food. I mean, like, food as a Pokemon, not Pokemon
Oh,
food.
and,
Bonus points for any recipes.
fan art. I want some fan art regarding this, right? I
Fan
really-
art to be posted on our
yeah,
Discord channel.
Like poached Magikarp or something. I don't know.
Join our Discord.
If you
Link
have
in
a
the
recipe,
description.
I would love to see it.
Recipe.
the recipe.
When you make Pokemon
Oh,
food
man.
fan art, please leave a recipe
That'd be good,
in our
that'd be
fan art channel in Discord. Link in the description. Make sure you like and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.
You know the tail of a Charizard would be pretty